Hello, folks. Phil Gallagher of ThrabenU for another Legacy. Today, we are going to be playing with Cloudpost at the request of a Dead Source podcast. They're not a MTG podcast. They're just other assorted stuff podcast. Consider checking them out. All right. So today, we're going to make a lot of mana, and we're going to cast some unreasonably costed monsters that will annihilate our opponent's permanents, literally with Annihilator or otherwise with a sweet on-cast trigger. General idea with the 12 post strategy is that you play Cloudpost and other post cards like Glimmerpost, and then you can also copy them with cards like or Thespian Stage in order to get more copies of them, and then you use that mana to ultimately go and activate an Eye of Ugin to search up one of the Eldrazi creatures that you could go draw a bunch of cards with, annihilate some permanents with, and win the game. Now, back in the day, this deck used to be colorless. However, the printing of Elvish Reclaimer in particular has gone and made this into a green deck most of the time. Get the redundancy of Elvish Reclaimer and crop rotation to go and find you your lands, as well as a air quotes cantrip once upon a time. While not being the traditional 1 blue mana cantrip, it still is going to filter and help you find the right cards that you need. The deck can do some pretty neat things with a Primeval Titan enter the battlefield trigger, oftentimes gaining a bunch of life with Glimmerpost, or assembling both halves of the Thespian Stage Dark Depths combo to create a 20/20 creature, or you can just pull out the right utility land that you need to answer a given situation, get the Tabernacle, or Glacial Chasm, or sometimes even something as simple as Caracas or Bojuka Bog. That's the deck in a nutshell. Make a lot of mana, cast something that's bigger and dumber than what your opponent is casting. Like Murktide Regent, scary. Emrakul, scarier. You're trying to stay on the right side of scarier. And to make it so that you just don't get obliterated by wasteland decks like Delver, you are packing a playset of Pithing Needles. And speaking of not losing to Delver, this deck has a playset of Carpet of Flowers and a playset of Endurance in 75, so that you can also kind of play this mid-rangey game when you want to play a mid-range game. And sometimes you don't really want to be playing crop rotation against blue decks, and Carpet of Flowers gives you fantastic to sub in those spots that kind of functions a similar role to what the crop rotation does. Outside of that, you'll notice this isn't a like Chalice of the Void deck or anything like that, which is often the case with big colorless meta decks. So we're going to have to deal with the unfair decks via our sideboard. Mindbreak Trap, Endurance as a way to fight the graveyard-based decks, and Force of Vigor for the artifact combo decks. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say here. Let's just kind of jump into the games directly. If you're new here and you like what you see, please consider subscribing. I'm going to do a giveaway once I hit 15K followers on YouTube. And yeah, if you like what you see, I already said that. You know what? Into the games. Throw me a like if you're a regular. Let's battle. Okay, I think I will keep my opening hand here. I have a okay amount of mana, especially assuming that on a time does evolve. Kind of question will be, when am I playing the Post? I'm almost certainly grabbing Glimmerpost as a functional land. Am I playing Reclaimer on turn? I think so. Also kind of lets us masquerade as elves for a minute. I am certainly down for. Also, I'm going to apologize in advance if my play is a little sloppy. I might have stayed up till like 2 in the morning last night playing Commander. I'm not apologizing. I was a charity event, and I am a sleepy boy today. That, and then I can rotate this Cavern into a Cloudpost at my opponent's end step and start trying to work towards some big mana. I'm not actually all that far away from an Emrakul, surprisingly enough. Like, it's going to take a few turns, but I'm probably getting there. Okay. Absolutely. So I'm going to assume that we are playing against some sort of blue-white control deck that was just like, absolutely fuck this matchup. We're going to sub Crop Rotations or Carpet of Flowers Like sacrificing your land and then getting it countered is just like this super feel bad moment. Um, from there, I can consider a couple of endurance or mid-game beatdown stuff that just like force my opponent into resources towards that. I don't know how good my Pithing Needles are. They probably have Shark Typhoon or Teferi or Narset or some combination of things. It's probably fine. Unsure how important Rex Sage is without knowing their exact 75. They're like randomly they might have something like a Pithing Needle or my Eye of Ugin, which is something that I care about as this game goes long. I think until I get a slightly better feel for what they're doing it in there. My opponent conceded that quickly, like their matchup is probably not good or is heavily reliant on sideboard cards. This hand is absolute gas. Like I don't like the Pithing Needle in it, but I basically like everything else about this hand. And if I have things my way, I get to play both Carpet of Flowers and Elvish Reclaimer on turn 1. Buddy. And that will be very good. Yeah, so my opponent potentially lets this evolve, thinking that they'll just Prismatic Ending it. All of a sudden, I present them with a second thing that they really need, a Prismatic Ending. They're probably not too pleased about that. Yes. Okay. I'm gonna rotate into a Cloudpost, right? Yeah, I'm just gonna rotate into a Cloudpost. Like some green mana. Gonna go ahead and do that now, I think. There's a Cloudpost. There's a Cloudpost. My mana is going to ramp up very quickly. It's possible rotating that land away is a mistake in the case of like a Blood Moon type card, but like with an onboard Carpet of Flowers, I'm slightly less about that. Like I also just have the Elvish Reclaimer, so I can get a Takesy Backsies and get a Forest back if I need to. Yeah, that's just our set. That's fine. Ruination. Sure. If I play Glimmerpost, I have 3, 6, 7, 8, 9 mana. I don't play this, I have 2, 4, 5, 6 mana, plus my land drop per turn. Yes, I use this ability. Get green. 4, 5, 6. I have a 7th mana. I like throwing this out there on the Narset. And then attempting Primeval Titan. Nice. Yes, I will use this ability. I will pick up Forest. Forest? Go ahead and Oak Narset. And this means that if my opponent like casts that Ruination, they blow up a couple of my lands, but like I'm left with a Primeval Titan in play. Probably doesn't get them to where they need to go at the end of the day. And it's also like Elvish Reclaimer on a time. I'll do this second main phase. Then this at Narset for that kill. Oh, maybe I don't actually. I just send both at my opponent. It's a 2-turn clock. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Vertical Extraction on Cloudpost. That decreases my opponent's life total. I'm so good with that right now. Alright. Yes, I will use ability. I get 1 mana from Cloudpost. I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. That's like Once Upon a Time into something else. I can also just like grab Double Forest or Asuva, like a Bog. A lot of options. Let's Bog my opponent. I don't super need the mana. Grab like an Eye of Ugin for the long term. Oh, that did reduce my Elvish Reclaimer to a 2. I guess that's a thing. Play this Once Upon a Time. Permanent Excavator is super cute. I'll grab that. Gain a life off Glimmerpost. An Elvish Reclaimer into play. And opponent will need some sort of like Supreme Verdict type card, or I will just instantly bury them. Next turn, I can activate one of my Elvish Reclaimers to grow the other one and actually get my 9 damage for theoretical lethal. And there's a Prismatic Ending. One of my Elvish Reclaimers. Be another one. I'll mess around with this combat. Because this is going to grow me a lethal attack, but almost certainly my opponent has another sword. Nope. Okay. Good stuff. Easy round. Alright, round 2 opening hand. I can lead on a Pithing Needle on Wasteland in the dark, then play a Cloudpost, and start working towards big mana. I don't really want this Emrakul that's in hand, like, for a very, very long time, like 5 turns long time, but I am overall happy with the hand. Alright, Forest. Pithing Needle. Aim Wasteland in the dark to protect Cloudpost. Pass the turn, and we'll see what my opponent is doing. Ah, okay. I think this is Connor False, aka Lomer Boy. So that Pithing Needle in the dark does probably hit. A library. That's a fantastic draw. I think I am just going to play that out and make my opponent commit some resources towards dealing with it. I'll have some decisions to make this game. I might just like go towards a Merit Lodge kill. That's going to be relatively difficult to disrupt with a Pithing Needle on Wasteland in play. Not impossible, though. Okay, there is a Wasteland that I have stopped, at least for now. To a Knight of the Reliquary. That makes going for Dark Depths combo much less attractive. My opponent can have, like, Maze of Ith or a Ghost Quarter or something to stop that. I think I'm going to play Dark Depths. Pass the turn? I can rotate for a Cloudpost now and play out the map to make my mana a little cleaner for next turn. Actually, I might do that. Do that. Grab the Cloudpost. Put Elvish Reclaimer for a third Cloudpost, but I really want to eventually Green Sun for a Primeval Titans. I think I'm just going to play that out like so. There's some random bullshit like Kaya that can punish that line, but Kaya already punishes Needle pretty badly, so, like, there's that. Blast Zone absolutely punishes that line. Done in upkeep to shuffle as well. Well, I don't know that I win from here. Like, because neither Reliquary just wrecks active Cloudposts. No, I can Green Sun for a Ramunap Excavator to help with that. Actually, what happens if I just play Glimmerpost? I have 3, 6, 7, 8 mana. Oh, I can just Green Sun for X is 6. That's totally fine. Oh, my opponent said they punted something there. Opponent says, please don't punish me. Bad news. Let's get a Primeval Titan. Good stuff. Yes, I will use that ability. I think I will just grab both of those. Maybe I grab both Cloudposts. More interesting things later. Alright. Grab some Cloudposts. And even in getting Wastelanded, I probably Emrakul. Yep. Well, I guess I can get Wastelanded multiple times and it can get weird. Grabbing a Dryad Arbor. Interesting. Gonna be some Scrib Ranger nonsense line involved here. Okay, opponent did keep an extra card here. See what they can do. Okay, Grist makes the previous play make more sense. That destroys my Primeval Titan. I take 9 damage. Be good. Oh no, okay, they are just going to go for second activation. That's totally reasonable as well. Still have a lot of mana. I can go, what, 1, 2, 3, grab Cloudpost, and grab a new Cloudpost, and that just puts me right back in the same situation that I was just in terms of mana. That's fine. I can also just consider grabbing Bojuka Bogging my opponent so that I can't just get killed by a Swift Knight. So if my opponent does not Wasteland me, I'll have 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, or sorry, 4, 8, 12, 13, 14 mana next turn, so I don't have it anyway. Maybe I should just make it so that my opponent can't a game. Like, they have used 2 of their 4 Wastelands already. Like, I can get Wastelanded 2 more times, but, like, I can just find a Green Sun for a Ramunap or a Green Sun for another Primeval Titan, and I think I end up in an okay position. Okay, opponent taking more damage from Sylvan Library going to 6. Clear out a bunch of stuff so that, like, Life from the Loam doesn't immediately just threaten to keep me in check for the rest of the game. So, like, that's nice. A Mox Diamond. Sure. I got bigger again relatively quickly. Probably just going to get wastelanded again here. My opponent continued the play pattern that they were doing. Seems like they are. Yes, that's fine. Down goes a Cloudpost, and then my opponent will Grist plus. Oh shit, they have Loam. That's scary all of a sudden. I find a Pithing Needle. Age Tabernacle. Tabernacle's a little interesting. Taxes my opponent's resources. The issue is, like, there's already just a decent amount of power in play, and this doesn't produce mana, and this is just wastelandable. Probably just grab a this here. But I'm definitely in check in the short term. Okay, no bonus card drawn here. So I'm going to lose this Cloudpost, down quite a few mana sources. After this Grist activation, like, this Knight could be like an 8/8 or something like that. No. Okay. Sudden Edict is another thing that was on my mind earlier when I was pivoting away from Dark Depths plan. Take 8 here, which is a lot. I just get wastelanded a couple more turns in a row. Loam again. Turning only the wasteland to maximize Knight's size. Or, like, I play out this Elvish Reclaimer, but that's just like a Grist minus, like, basically being dead. Actually, you know what? At this point, I think I'm just gonna concede. Like, I can see the writing on the wall here. I want a couple of endurances to deck, and I'll be good. I don't know how I feel about some of the defensive lands, like Glacial Chasm and Tabernacle here. Like, they do kind of relevant things, but, like, they're just vulnerable to Wasteland, and that's already one of my primary problems. They don't produce mana innately, unless I have Yavimaya, which is a one of. To cut both of those to make room for a couple of endurances. I don't know if I want the fourth. I also don't know if I want to go all the way up to Emrakul. I don't mind endurance in the matchup to make Knight of the Reliquary smaller, get rid of Life from Loam, Punishing Fires. Well, not so much Punishing Fires. Like, that technically does. Rex Sage can get rid of a library or a Mox. It has text. I don't think it's amazing or anything. I don't know about the last card. I don't know. Maybe if I'm casting a Green Sun for X equals 3, I'm just going to want Ramunap so much more of the time. That's just, like, not worth playing. Yeah, I will keep this. So let's Once Upon a Time. Do I want the threat now? 4 lands in hands. Sure. Threat now. I think I will just go ahead and start with the Pit Needle on Wasteland. I can go turbo relatively quickly with this crop rotation. Library. How do I feel about Elvish Reclaimer for crop rotation? I think I'll play out the Reclaimer. Like, with a Pithing Needle play on ready, that feels okay. Okay, quick Sylvan Library this time. I'm gonna see Prismatic Ending. Yeah, I'm gonna see Prismatic Ending. Cloudpost activation to punish my line, which is a little frustrating, but, like, not an uncommon line. Oh, Green Sun for Dryad Arbor. Absolutely. Alright, that's what I don't want to draw. Like my position here. Go ahead and give up my green mana here. Get a Cloudpost. A Vesuva. Copying the Cloudpost. Dash in for 2. I'm relatively vulnerable to follow up Wastelands here. But I'm not that far away from Ulamogging if I do actually get to, like, continue to make land drops without getting wastelanded. I just, like, play Dark Depths. Oh, well, actually, I can just make Merit Lodge next turn if I want to play it a little riskier. Float 4 mana. Okay, Sudden Edict. Never mind that plan. So now I'm pretty far behind, but opponent is at 6 and has a Dark Confidant that could eventually kill them. But that's very unlikely to actually happen with a library in play. Opponent's got to mess up stuff. We have another follow-up play, which I don't want to see. Ah, fuck. So I'm basically full on hoping my opponent dies their own Dark Confidant at this point, because there's just not a lot I can Wasteland lock here that I'm under. Wow. That is a decision. Don't know that I agree with that. I wish I had a green card to punish here. I don't. Opponent has some way to gain a bunch of life or something. This fine, but otherwise probably kills them in turns. Even with this library filtering, that deck has a lot of 0 drops, but every time there's not 0 drops on top, they take some damage. I'm on a block as of right now. Yavimaya would be a sick draw here. There is the expected life from the loam. Get my Cloudpost wastelanded. Yep. 8-5 damage in combat, going to 13. And it is on annual discard plan because of life from the loam. Alright, I have no active decisions that I can make here. Will my opponent die to their own Bob before they kill me? Answer is probably no. I think with Wasteland and Boseiju available now, I'm just fucked. Now, Pithing Needle doesn't save me anymore. I also just, can't concede to Bob. There are scenarios where, my opponent does die to their own Bob. Alright. 3 damage in combat puts me to 10. My opponent has something big and spicy, like a Grist or a Knight or something. Or an Obnixilis. Okay, that takes the Bob out of play. So I don't really think that I can win anymore against multiple copies of a Planeswalker. I don't think I can win here. I'm gonna go ahead and respect my time and just concede. Hey folks, Phil from the future here. I recommend skipping round 3. It's pretty boring. My opponent basically times themselves out. It's not a lot of fun be a participant in or to watch. While I have your attention here, if you haven't done it already, please consider liking the video. It helps out a lot with my metrics. Okay, I have a lot of colorless mana. I don't have an ability to cast any of my green cards currently, but I think with the degree of ramp this has and the number of land drops that I can hit in this deck, I think this is probably going to be fine. So let's just go land and pass and get a feel for what we're playing against. If we are playing against a Wasteland deck in the initial Cloudpost, the rest of my hand does become significantly more awkward. Okay, we are not facing an initial Wasteland. Equip Heath often does mean a Wasteland deck, though, or Elves. Okay, we are playing against Elves. Straight up going to erase, but copy my Cloudpost, I think. World where I'm supposed to copy Forest, but I think I am just going for big mana here, because the issue with my hand is I have to get to green specifically, which is not easy to do. And my opponent has a strong start. I can gain some dental life here. Glimmerpost. I can play Glimmerpost this turn, Glimmerpost next turn, or I can just copy Post turn. If my opponent didn't have Cradle, the crop rotation line, crop rotation for Tabernacle would have been really good, but with them having Cradle, that doesn't actually disrupt them all that much. I'm afraid of lethal next turn. I can copy Forest into crop rotation for Glacial Chasm. I can buy time that way. I guess, super awkwardly, there are worlds where my opponent holds up an Elvish Reclaimer activation, and then I can't successfully copy their forest. Kind of a weird situation. I think I'm going to let that resolve. I think I'm not going to worry about this hypothetical situation that I've just, cooked up in my head. Just going to be a bounce and Elvish Visionary. Oh, so there's the 2 mana. Ooh, better than that. So that probably gets Heritage. Then it's 3 mana, Firewood, untap one of these, bounce Visionary. Yeah, that's pretty good. And another 1 mana Elf. Or they can just do that, sure. There's another card draw. Okay. I think go ahead and copy this Forest. I don't want to just get absolutely fucked by my opponent getting Quarian Ranger here and just having the soul read on what I was trying to do. Yeah. Yeah, so there's an untap and a bounce. 3 mana again. Okay, there is a fetch land. Okay, cool. A crop rotation or a, like, I'll play some crap land. Like, I'll play, like, the Bojuka Bog. I'll crop rotation away the bog for Chasm. Sacrifice this forest, keep my Cloudpost in play so that I can keep ghosting, like, not indefinitely, but for a very long time. That seems log you, and I'm just going to double check the text of Chasm. Cumulative upkeep life. That will be fine. Could be hard to beat. My opponent has, like, randomly a wasteland in their deck list as an Elvish Reclaimer target. Like, things can get more interesting. Alright, 3 mana. I'm just gonna start yielding to this stuff. I have so few things that I'm going to interact with here that I'm just going to let it all happen. I think it's very obvious what I have here, like, since I have not conceded. If you just attack in for 3 damage, I'll absolutely just take 3 damage, and then crop rotation log into a green. I have 2 for 6 mana, play Primeval Titan, and then get Glacial Chasm that way. Absolutely. Okay. Now at this point, crop rotation, sacrifice the Juka Bog, pick up the Glacial Chasm. I wonder if I'm supposed to sacrifice the Forest or the Cloudpost. I should just sacrifice one of these Cloudposts and keep my green mana. I can use the green mana to get another Cloudpost or, like, send away this Glacial Chasm when I'm no longer ready for it. That's a-okay with me. Means it takes a little longer to get to Prime Titan. I'm just, like, not sure if that actually matters. Alright, pay 2 life. We shall continue the prison-y game a little while. Just want to play crop rotation, or Caracas for crop rotation this turn. The Cloudpost, and then gain more life with my... Yeah, I think I do. I just work towards Titan. Like, Primeval Titan will Emrakul. That's totally fine. At some point, if I want, I can also just this back into a Cloudpost. Right, there's 3 mana. My opponent can do a lot of stuff, but, like, so little of it actually matters. They can't, and, like, since they haven't just, like, activated an Elvish Reclaimer yet, I don't think they have a Wasteland. I think most of what they are doing is just spinning wheels, waiting to see if I die. 8 mana. Sure. And if I start getting really desperate, I can also copy Glacial Chasm with this Thespian stage. And if I get Ramunap Excavator, I can kind of create a pseudo-infinite situation. Yeah, draw your cards. Absolutely. More mana, that's fine. I guess I can also consider getting Yavimaya. Yavimaya also gives me +1 mana and gives me access to my second green. Yavimaya actually seems pretty good. Let's go 2 mana. Crop rotation away that. Pick up the Yavimaya. And even have to discard some cards. Progenitus. Yes. Pay the life. Now I have, once I played this, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. 6, yep. Glimmerpost. 6 mana. Where it's casting an Emrakul here. I get Cloudpost, Glimmerpost, is that fine? I need to get double Cloudpost. Gonna be worth 5 each, 5, 10, 15. Does it? 2. I'll say. Yeah, you can do your untapping stuff. I also could have gotten a Tabernacle, just to make my opponent's life miserable, but I think I am in the situation where I can just, like, play Emrakul and win. I guess my opponent is at 17. Already used my Caracas. I guess that's a thing. I do actually have to think about closing the game. I draw, like, a Ramunap, like, very easy. Do I lose the game in any way if I Primeval Titan attack and then play Emrakul? Sure. I would like my opponent to just, like, randomly do damage to themselves so I don't have to think about it at all. I can probably just, like, wait one turn. I just, like, don't think my opponent has any outs to the Chasm situation. Yeah, you can glimpse. I do not care. Like, I don't know what my opponent is playing towards. Not like Elves plays a main deck Assassin's Trophy or anything like that can answer this. So, yeah. Okay, Birch Lore's fine. It has made mana. Yeah, it's very inconvenient for me that Caracas is in my graveyard. Why is that just like instantly generates infinite turns? Okay, opponent has gone up to 10 mana. Are they just going to like time themselves out while trying to hardcast a Progenitus? Oh shit, Boseiju. Know if they were going to have a second one of those. Okay, I can die to that. Thought I had already seen those. Okay, that's what opponent was playing towards. That's fair. Die to that. GG's. I think I have last game where my opponent had Boseiju. I thought I had already gone through that card. Okay, I guess not. This is probably a don't sideboard matchup. Like, Endurance is technically playable as something that blocks. I guess it's better than a better than a Reclamation stage. Otherwise, most stuff here is reasonable. I could consider cutting like a random Maze if another Endurance. Maze is pretty good against a go wide strategy. Sorry, do I not have Maze? I don't have Maze. I have Tabernacle and Chasm. Yeah. I think I'll just keep the other random lands as things that can Yavamaya. I don't think this hand ends up doing anything. Early Tabernacle's cool. And isn't that objectively strong, though. On 6, maybe this is a keep. If I'm going to play out an early Tabernacle, I probably throw back my Reclaimer. And is a touch awkward. I missed on a green sword, like I was hoping for. Oh, that's not great. Let's play this. And I'm going to just go ahead and preemptively shut off Boseiju. Keep that from being an issue in the future. And we'll see what my opponent can do. Tabernacle should very significantly slow down my opponent. I think I'll just play it immediately. Like, it's possible I'm supposed to let them vomit stuff and then drop this, but I don't know for sure. Like, there's times when preventing a single mana from hitting play is like the difference between life and death. Guy's Cradle's really annoying here. Like, pays for my Tabernacle in a card. And I'll start working towards big mana. Like, next turn, I can Vesuva, copy Cloudpost, Thespian Stage, copy Cloudpost, or Thespian Stage, copy copy Forest, and see where that leads me. Very real danger to just like dying to an Allosaurus Shepherd activation, like having this Tabernacle in play. Oh, I am also just going to get Progenitus right now. Oh, cool. We're at a 19. So I can Vesuva, copy Cloudpost, Thespian Stage, target Forest, take 13 damage, and get Glacial Chasm so that I don't die. Is protected, and like try to play a bunch of Cloudposts. Vesuva, copy Cloudpost. Just going to copy a Forest right now, just so I can F6 through my opponent's turn. And so that like a Quarian Ranger sort of card doesn't end up fucking me up later. In post-sideboard games, I do have to worry about like an Abrupt Decay or an Assassin's Trophy on this. Opening up Boseiju towards destroying lands, or just an Assassin's Trophy. Sorry, not on this, on my future Glacial Chasm. There's also a lot of worlds where I just time out this opponent. They have used twice as much clock as I have. Alright, pay for your stuff. There are worlds where I can eat Allosaurus Shepherd activation this turn. But a lot of those worlds involve another Gaia's Cradle. Okay, that's fine. Dryad Arbor, that's a-okay with me. My opponent can just play a land, play Elvish Visionary for another card. Take 12 instead of 30. My opponent did use some of that for mana. So I can play Glimmerpost, right? 3, 6, 7. Yeah, that should be fine. Glimmerpost. Gain a bunch of life. There's a green sun for X is 6 for the Primeval Titan. Alright. Now I will use this ability. Has to grab me Glacial Chasm. And do I just want the Eye of Ugin? The Eye of Ugin seems fine. I don't want to sacrifice the Tabernacle, but it makes my opponent way worse at churning their deck. I'm just going to get rid of my Forest. I don't really need that green mana if I can just funnel all of my mana into into Eye of Ugin. Also, can I just, like, Emrakul next turn? Like, Emrakul infinite turns as of next turn? Guess I can math that out now, right? So I play a Glimmerpost. That's 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 mana. But I'm actually going to, if I do that, I attack with Primeval Titan. So I can get more Cloudposts / Glimmerposts. So the Cloudposts are tapping for 4 as of right now, including Post. I could make those 6s instead. 6, 12, 13, 14, 16. So I can't both tutor for the Emrakul and go off next. I have to tutor that. That's probably okay. Do I lose Abrupt Decay into Boseiju? Like that sort of situation? Or I guess maybe there's like some Reclamation Stage situations, like Reclamation Stage into Boseiju situations that can be annoying. Alright, there's an untap. Like, my opponent has 2 glimpses going. And, while not literally infinite mana, like, a lot of mana, a lot of card draw. More mana. Okay, so maybe they don't have Rex Sage, because otherwise, like, Rex Sage would easily be the thing they find to open up Boseiju baselines. Like, it's probably in the deck, but it might not be in for the matchup. Also, if I really want to focus on timing my opponent out, I should not be F6ing anymore and just seconds. But I'm kind of bored and I don't want to click. Like, that's where I'm at. My opponent is at a third of the time that I am at, less now. So yeah. All right. Opponent just discarded a bunch of cards. I think it does take me 2 turns to do this. Pay the life here. I play Glimmerpost. This is already 4/8. Activate this. I'm fine with doing this. Ooh, there's an Expedition map. Expedition map for Yavimaya do anything cute? So that's 3 mana here for Expedition map for Yavimaya. Answer is no, probably not. I want to activate Eye of Ugin this turn, which is 7 mana, which is like most of this. My Glimmerpost. 4/8 mana. Actually, I should not actually activate that right now. Discard. Go ahead and play out Expedition map and pass the turn. And then I can go ahead and do some nonsense with up Emrakul and infinite turn as of next turn. You have to do a bunch of stuff here. Playing what it is. Sure. Fine. Oh shit, there is a sideboard wasteland. Okay, I think I lose to sideboard wasteland. Okay, that's fine. I'll go ahead and concede there. GG's. Alright, I've kept my opening hand for round 4 here. I am lacking in green mana. I have a decent amount of ability to ramp. I think this is capable. Oh. Okay. If we don't draw green mana for crop rotation for Bojuka Bog, I just die. Game 1 here in all likelihood. Will help me find it. Okay, there is green mana. So with crop rotation or Bojuka Bog, there's a very good chance that I steal game 1 against Dredge here. Especially if my opponent goes all in on an LED-based play with, like, Breakthrough or something like that. Alright, there's a second Cephalid Coliseum. There is a breakthrough. Now I've got a decision. When do I crop rotation? I can crop rotation now and stop the initial dredging, and they will like draw 4, discard 4, have 4 cards in their graveyard, or I can save this for a little bit later. I think I'm going to take it now. I think I sacrifice my Cloudpost. Maybe firing this off too early, but I don't want to get to the point where I have to like change my mind mid combo here. But Dredge is so infrequently played now that I don't know what their current deck lists look like to know like whether or not my is correct. This will clear their initial graveyard, leaving them with a graveyard of some kind. It's 4 random cards. We'll see how many dredgers it actually is. It is 1 thug, 1 roll. Eliminated a lot of the speed of my opponent's hand, but like I am absolutely not out of the woods. Emrakul is not the draw I am looking for here. I am going to play out a Thespian stage with the intention of copying Forest. Okay, decent dredge from the opponent, but not good. This more that I have to worry about. But, like, my plan for that is a, like, Tabernacle or Glacial Chasm off crop rotation. So no bridges yet. I'm kind of, like, short-term safe, but, like, definitely long-term scared. I don't think I can fire off this crop rotation yet. I am just going to copy a Forest, but I am working towards firm. I think a decent portion of the time I'm going to have to end up sacrificing both Fog and like maybe a Glimmerpost or an Eye of Ugin to get a Glacial Chasm. Expedition map do for me here. Pretty good things. It's slightly awkward in terms of my mana output here though, right? Because like I can play Expedition map, crack it, and play Tabernacle. And I'm not holding up crop rotation, and I can lose crop rotation to Cabal Therapy. I could play Glacial Chasm now. Really like to sacrifice Eye of Ugin. It maybe means I'm just playing out some stuff this turn. Like slightly awkward, like playing this out. Worlds where I need to actually. Maybe I can get away with Tabernacle this turn. A little greedy, but I think I like it. As a baby board wipe, get this going. Crop rotation nonsense next turn. I don't know, like maybe I just need to Glacial Chasm immediately to protect from the Icarid damage. Definitely thought my opponent had 1 Icarid. I made that decision, not 2. Yeah, maybe I just should have like played map, held up crop rotation past the turn. I like that better now that I'm thinking about it a little bit more. Like I thought it was 1 Icarid, and so I thought I was taking 5, 7 instead. Yeah, I don't like the line that I took. Especially with my opponent having 2 Cabal Therapies. Yeah, I fucked that up. Named Expedition map with the first one and miss, and then they'll name crop rotation with this one and hit. Play a Hogak this. Yeah, I messed up. And because of that. Alright, and the Icarid way. Now I might not. And drawing Yavimaya is actually really good. Not this turn, but next turn means that I can play Titan. Let's go Glimmerpost, trigger on the stack, copy my Glimmerpost. I gain 2. Pass my turn. Opponent can bring back a couple of Icarids. Not lethal, but it fucking hurts. And the Icarids specifically dodge my Tabernacle tax. Alright. Hogak tax is paid. Multiple bridges here. Again, don't matter that much because of Tabernacle. But like they're things. They exist. Now I can go Yavimaya up to 6 mana. Cast my Primeval Titan. Still use ability. I 100% have to get Glacial Chasm. And then maybe it's just Glimmerpost so I can hold out for longer. That sounds good. Gain my 3 life. I'm going to sacrifice a Bodega Bog so that I can end up in situations where I can get a Ramunap Excavator and then replay that to wipe my opponent's graveyard. mana do I actually have? 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is really like 9, 10 towards Eldrazi spells. So I can sacrifice my Primeval Titan next turn, and then exile my opponent's Cephalid Coliseum. And then I only have to worry about, like, Icarids from there. Okay. Opponent can therapy away my Emrakul, the Aeons Torn. They know about that. Okay, they have named Green Sun specifically for my Bojuka Bog. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, tapping this, which is 9, 10. So if I get rid of my Primeval Titan, I can play Ulamog and exile my opponent's Cephalid Coliseum. That seems fine. That does get rid of Bridge from Belows. Ooh, another Primeval Titan. That's just probably better. 6 mana for a Primeval Titan. Yes, I will use ability. I can just get multiple Vesuvas, copy Glimmerposts, and then behind this for 7 turns. Alright, yeah. Seems good. Yeah, now I can just effectively wait my opponent out. Yeah. Okay. I fucked up that game. Like, I'm absolutely playing while tired, and it is showing. I have 3 endurances that I can bring in, and then Mindbreak Trap is a card that is playable if I have a bunch of really bad cards. So Pithing Needle is pretty weak. It can name Cephalid Coliseum. It's not the greatest. Reclamation Stage seems like an be out. I don't really know that I need a Kozilek in the matchup. Like, it's another finisher, but I am essentially just looking to lock up this game. And I need to get 1 more endurance in here. 1 Pithing Needle can go, or I can take a quick look at the lands and see if there's anything I want to cut. My utility lands are all kind of good here. I don't know that I will cut any of that. I might just go down 1 Pithing Needle. And then, like, when I am on the draw, do I want Pithing Needle for Cephalid Coliseum? Or do I want a couple of Mindbreak Traps for some of the craziest openings? Mindbreak Traps are just really narrow. So this hand has a Remnant, this hand has an Elvish Reclaimer, but not the ability to actually activate a Bojuka Bog on turn 2, so I'm not sure that this hand is actually fast enough. I think I'm going to mulligan this one. It's a much better hand. I'm going to keep this, maybe pitching one of the various tutor effects. I think I'm going to pitch a Crop Rotation, specifically because of Cabal Therapy, and keeping multiples of the same card in hand is, like, super risky. Alright, opponent, what's the damage? Alright, it begins. Cephalid Coliseum into Careful Study. A follow-up LED is where things start getting scary. Like LED into Faithless Looting, into Art Dredging. Oh, it's just a Golgari Thug. Naturally drew Glacial Chasm. I guess the question here is, like, when do I bog? I think on the draw I just hold up Crop Rotation. I think I let my opponent do the whole Golgari Thug thing, and bog when things get scarier. Oh, we are seeing a Dredge, and it is a very good Dredge. That's multiple Grave Trolls and a Bridge, multiple Narcomoebas. That might be a position where I go ahead and just nuke the graveyard. Cool thing about this exact scenario that I'm in right now is I have a Vesuva, right? So I can Vesuva the Bojuka Bog, that if my opponent, like, has a big turn, I still have a way to kind of mitigate their turn cycle that is just completely immune to discard. Oh yeah, you may absolutely break through. Okay, decent number of goodies in the graveyard. This Vesuva Bojuka Bog be extremely good here. Ooh, a Pithing Needle as well. Yeah, so I can go ahead and Pithing Needle that Cephalid Coliseum. Set off that ability. Vesuva, copy Bojuka Bog. Bojuka Bog my opponent for the 2nd turn in a row. And go from there. My mana's a little bit awkward in that, like, I have double black in my mono green deck, but I think that's okay at the end of the day. Okay, my opponent has just conceded. Yeah, that's totally fine. So we're up to 2 and 2. All right. Final round. I'll keep my hand here. I'm not the biggest fan of this hand. Like many of the hands with this deck list, it just like doesn't have green mana. Is awkward. It's technically a mono green deck, right? But it has so many colorless lands just kind of due to the constraints of the 12 post shell and the utility lands that you have to fit in. You're not actually very good at casting your green spells in your mono green deck. That's kind of been my biggest complaint about this deck, generally speaking. I also have to think about when I want to cast this Once Upon a Time. If I wait till my own turn, Force of Negation, Plateau, interesting. Force of Negation gets turned on, but I do get one deeper, and if I draw a Forest, for example, I know that I don't need off a time. Unfortunately, that did not happen here. I will go ahead and cast this. All right. Do I want the green source, or do I just want a post? I think I'm going to take the green source. I don't think I am going to just turbo this game just as quickly as absolute possible. I'm going to go ahead and play out an expedition map, search with it, and okay, there's that Force of Negation I was talking about. Now, do I play out this next expedition map into a prismatic ending? I think the answer is no. I think I take the 1 mana hit next turn in order to dodge prismatic ending, because like Plateau to me very much signifies like I am a prismatic ending deck. All right. It'll probably take me a few turns to know exactly what shell my opponent is playing. As of right now, my guess is that like this is an expressive iteration pile. Ooh. Thing is a land drop. There's a Primeval Titan. Ponder did shuffle. I think I like playing map, racking map. If I grab Cloudpost, I'll have 3, 6, 7, 8 mana next turn. I can start green sunning for prime times. I think I am very much good with that. And my opponent is going to be in this situation where they are going to need to counter spells for 4 turns in a row. Otherwise, I probably get an insurmountable advantage. There are worlds where my opponent just like slams a Murktide Regent, though. Like, card's dumb. I can play around that with a Bojuka Bog, but I think it's probably better for me to just jam my own stuff. Also, they could have Murktided. They had it already, so like that's a thing. All right, let's make some mana. Green Sun for 6. Let's go. All right, we are getting a counterspell of some kind here. Not actual factual counterspell. Ooh, no, we are looking for one. Just nope. Just nope. Okay. So I like these same cards that we brought in against Blue earlier. Like before, I will probably substitute crop rotation for Carpet of Flowers, and then find a way to get some endurances in the deck. So from here, I have to figure out like what I want to cut for endurance. I did not see very many of my opponent's cards, so like I don't have 100% confirmation of which exact shell my opponent is playing. There's a lot of times where I can get away without Glacial Chasm and or Tabernacle. They're good against like a Monastery Mentor if my opponent is doing that sort of thing, but I don't know if they are. Rex Sage is pretty weak unless my opponent is playing a Blood Moon or Back to Basics or equivalent, in which case it's like very nice to have in the deck. I'm going to cut, I think, at least one of these utility lands. I think I'll cut Tabernacle for 1 endurance. And then it's like tough from there, because like I probably want to hate on my opponent's graveyard a little bit and like have some more things that can pressure Planeswalkers, but most of my cards are good. Climber's a little weaker than normal. I could junk Once Upon a Time, but like my opening hands are sometimes and like boarding in a bunch of green pips can be hard. I don't know. Maybe with the information that I have now, 2 endurances is enough. Or maybe I just board out Glacial Chasm for this game, and then just if my opponent does have Mentor. Now let's board out the Chasm and just be happy with 3 Endurances. That sounds fine. A very reasonable Carpet of Flowers hand that, and ramp towards a Primeval Titan with at least moderate speed. I don't know if I want to play Carpet of Flowers on turn 1. Like, it's possible I want to wait on that card until I get more mana out of it in a single turn. So for example, if my opponent sees a Carpet on turn 1, they can like fetch something like a Plateau that makes the Carpet work long term. I might just lead on Cloudpost here. I think I am just going to lead on Cloudpost. I'm not really scared of that many turn 2 plays that my opponent can do, I don't think. The turn 3 stuff starts to get spooked, though, for sure. That's where, like, the Blood Moon back to basics type stuff starts becoming relevant. Also unsure if I just, like, immediately convert this into an Elvish Reclaimer or not. Putting both Elvish Reclaimer and Carpet in play in the same cycle does sound okay. And Ace Blood Moon gets involved, I am going to go ahead and fetch for a basic here rather than play the basic out of my hand. Okay, my Carpet has resolved. And in second main phase, I'll get some green mana. I think this is okay, but like again, it might be better to just save this card. Very unsure about that without having reps in the exact matchup. Now, opponent grabbed a basic land there rather than a Tundra, when they don't have white mana, which is telling. Like, this very much could just be basic plains into, like, Blood Moon or back to basics. Okay, yeah, Teferi is fine. This is worth 2 mana this turn. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Doesn't get me a lot of places. I will use this ability. I will add green. One of that, play out an Expedition map. Okay. One of that to play an Elvish Reclaimer. I have my Eye of Ugin in hand. I just need to work on Outpost type stuff. Back to basics is a little rough. Go ahead and crack this. Grab a Cloudpost. Play out a Cloudpost. And now, essentially, I'm trying to build up mana while also respecting the cards that are actually going to beat me. The back to basics, Ruination, Blood Moon, those sorts of things. I don't care about most of the rest of the stuff my opponent can do. I can just, like, raw power through a lot of that. Okay. Opponent was in the tank for a little while. They made a land drop. I thought they were sitting there thinking about, like, do I remove an Elvish Reclaimer or a Carpet of Flowers with a prismatic ending? Okay, there is a Blood Moon. That's okay. Means I don't have an actual win condition in hand. Yes, I will use this ability. Make some green mana. I'll use one of that to Pithing Needleless Teferi. Just kind of shut that off for now. I can't like really deal with it super well. I'm gonna go ahead and play a Vesuva. Crash in on Teferi for 1. Take out Teferi next turn. And then, like, long term, I have green, so I can cast my Endurances. But my opponent will be at a massive advantage in the short term. Okay, there is a Mentor. This was one of the things that I was kind of concerned about in sideboarding. They didn't know whether or not my opponent had it for sure. Now I know. Get green here. Glacial Chasm and Tabernacle are both in sideboard there. So let's throw a Ramunap out there. Play a land from graveyard. Figure out what I am doing with this land drop. I think I'm just getting a Dark Depths. I am just getting a Dark Depths so that if I remove Blood Moon, I have a 20/20 creature. But now that I know my opponent has Mentor for sure, I need to change some of my sideboarding. Second Blood Moon. Fuck me. Okay. Alright. So now I know what my opponent's hate is. Now I know what their win condition is. Opponent is not going to be great at spewing off cantrips. Like, just being available. Yeah, I'll take that 3 damage. Might be playing a very strange game. They stage? Guess I just continue to extract value. lot of my lands here, thin my deck, make it easier to get towards my Emrakul. I can poke this Teferi to death if I want. The other thing I can do is like work towards Elvish Reclaimer being a 3/4. Yeah, maybe I just work Elvish Reclaimer being large. I think I am going to take the end after the Teferi though. Ambush Viper is fine. I'll lose Elvish Reclaimer to that. Okay, an opponent is not blocking to keep alive. That's totally reasonable. I'll go ahead and end my turn there. Now, opponent does only have like one actual factual island right now. See? They have just so many non-basics. Fine. I want to kill this Teferi so that like endurance becomes a thing that actually matters. Well, let's attempt this. Again, I don't know that it works, but like let's attempt it. Opponent has 2 cards. Carpet of Flowers can make me green. Green, play Carpet of Flowers. Maybe I'll leave that in guard. And I'll call it a turn. Alright, Ponder happens. I'm getting to the point where I can just hardcast Eldrazi. That I draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, assuming no other basic island. Like, I can already cast Ulamog. I just can't cast Emrakul yet. Alright, and that was a shuffle. A land drop. That's fine. I don't have the endurance to punish that. We'll go to 11. I did not like a relevant draw here, unfortunately. This was supposed to be the thing that allowed me to really pull ahead. I am just going to leave that land in graveyard. Pass my turn. Like, with 3 more lands in hand, I don't think I have to just focus no matter what on... That's pretty bad for me. Anyway, I don't think I have to focus no matter what on just maximizing the value that I'm getting. Like, I can already cast Eldrazi without problems. Okay, that is a Swords to Plowshares. That's pretty bad. So, my opponent has ignored Endurance thus far, right? I guess they would ignore it this turn anyway. Yeah. Alright. Need a relevant draw here. That is a relevant draw. I think. Let's make a lot of green. Yes, make a land drop. That Primeval Titan should resolve. I just, like, have issues with my opponent just casting a random spell and killing me, though, unfortunately. Like, I'm not going to gain the life that I normally would gain here. Just dead to any spell, and my opponent has, like, a card in hand plus Narset plus draw step. For that not to be the case. Maybe this wasn't actually a relevant draw. Okay, that's an expressive iteration. That does mean that I am dead here. Okay, so now I need one or both of these for Mentor. I've seen a Snapcaster Mage, so the incidental Graveyard Hate is nice. I know the Reclamation Sage is good. Like, which one of these do I want? It's kind of unfortunate as, like, a air quote sideboard card here, because, like, these are going to be shut off by the Blood Moons that my opponent wants to play anyway. I could consider playing Force of Vigor to fight the Blood Moons instead. I think I'm going to get the Glacial Chasm back in there. I think I do want some number of these. Like, maybe Endurance is not necessary. Maybe I just win so long as my cards can actually do their stuff. Like, but all 3 copies of Endurance play 3-ish Force of Vigor. Maybe 4 over 1 once upon a time. Find something else to cut. I probably don't need a full playset of Pithing Needles, honestly. Like, Pithing Needle on Teferi is kind of cool, but not something that, like, has to be done. Kind of cool. Like, that could let me keep the Once Upon a Time and play either Endurance or Endurance plus Tabernacle to be better at fighting Mentor. Pithing Needling Narset is more attractive than Pithing Needling Teferi in a lot of cases. I just don't have the reps with this deck to know exactly what my configuration is supposed to look like. Maybe I'm not in love with Endurance. I don't know. Like, there's probably Mystic Sanctuary in there, too. Play a couple of Pithing Needles when I'm on the play. Just, like, gives one more target for the Prismatic Endings. Yeah, this is fine. Assuming I draw some green card at some point. Like, I have a Blood Moon covered, and I can just work towards naturally casting an uncounterable Emrakul on 15 mana. guess, like, a Resolved to Fairy means that I would have to actually cast Force of Vigor the, like, legit way, which isn't the best thing in the world for me. Alright, no turn 1 Ponder. Like, Spell Pierces and stuff I have to think about, I guess. But let's ramp. I have 9 mana next turn, in theory. Although next turn I might just need to play, yeah, preemptively 4 Carpet of Flowers. Wow. My opponent kept a risky one there. I think I'm going to play a green source this turn. That way I work towards both having green after a Blood Moon and having, like, Seiju available. I am just going to go ahead and fetch a source here, though. Like, I know I'm always doing that, and I don't want to draw another. Alright, opponent's discarding. Hell yeah. 2, 4, 5, 6 uncounterable. Giant. That's uncounterable. Opponent just discarded a Swords to Plowshares. That probably means very good things for me. Yes, I will use this ability. I could get Stage and Depths. I think I am just going to get Cloudpost, Eye of Ugin, though. That feels absolutely unbeatable in the long term. Maybe, yeah, unbeatable in the short term, too. Okay, so we end up with a 3-2 in this. Overall thoughts on the deck list. This is a deck list that I've never really personally liked. I just don't think the mana in this deck is good, and, like, that's one of my big pet peeves as far as deck buildings goes, is, like, good mana. So if we take a look here, not counting Vesuva and Thespian Stage as colored mana, because I don't really think that's fair. There's 9 green sources in the deck. 8 if you're talking about pure green mana because of Cavern of Souls. Now, that number is slightly deceptive because, like, Vesuva can copy these things, Thespian Sage can copy these things, but, like, that's kind of jumping through. So, like, when you start getting to green pip cards, like, they're a little hard to cast, like, very notably the Primeval Titan. And as you saw here, I either mulliganed hands or kept a lot of hands that did not have access to the green mana. I get the consistency that the green adds to the deck list, but I've just, like, never been the biggest fan of it. I think this deck is fine if you, like, play it a ton and, like, you really know what you're doing. I believe their username is Into Play. That is just, like, a regular Cloudpost grinder that plays this deck and puts up pretty consistent results with it. But I don't think this deck is friendliest to average or maybe even slightly above average legacy player, because I think you stumble over your own stuff a lot. Now, the upsides that you get for playing this mana base are pretty high. I will admit that. Like, you get to go over the top of pretty much everything in this format. Similarly, in a way to what Nick Fit does, like, you just get to be doing the bigger thing, and assuming you get to actually execute your plan, like the Primeval Titan and Ulamogs and such end up being pretty difficult to beat. I do really like the sideboard plan of the Carpet of Flowers and the Endurance. Ultimately, though, like, this one gets a sideways thumb from me. Like, this is not a bad deck list. This is just not a deck list for me. This is not one that I would probably, like, play in my personal time, or one that I would be super comfortable, like, betting my tournament success on. Anyway, folks, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please click the like button on the way out. And if you're new here and you liked what you saw and you made it this far in the video, just saying, consider subscribing. Have a great rest of the day, and if you end up wanting to try this one out or get one of your own decks on the channel, that information is available in the video description. See ya!